You're listening to the Livt podcast, the 5-minute series designed to help you better understand private aviation services.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. Justin Smith, president of Livt, here on Lift's podcast. I have Tim Howard, a long-term member and friend, and Bo Webster, a long-term member and friend as well, on today to discuss a topic with us on trust in Livt and also how you justify flying private. So, gentlemen, thank you both for making time today. We know you're both very busy. That's why we're in business. Okay, so we know that your time matters and it's important to us all. And just to give a little introduction, Tim, Bo, you're out in near Roanoke, Virginia, in Blacksburg, correct? So you're on the East Coast. Okay. And Tim, you're out in Santa Ana, California, Newport, California. I think that's Santa Barbara, but you're in Newport, California area, Orange Beach area. So we're complete opposite ends of the world or the country here. But again, thank y'all. You see over the years, we talked about this before we started here, we keep getting the same issue with Livt. We're not a large company like some of the other competitors out there. We don't have the publicity. We have, over 120 members. We have a vast fleet of aircraft that applies PC-12s mainly. But over and over, we hear this, how can I trust Livt? Is our money safe? Are you going to provide the service, et cetera? So, guys, I thought about this with my vice president today. Look, let's have a couple members on. Let's do a couple of segments of this and talk about how you came to trust Livt over the years here. So y'all both been with us for a number of years, and just kind of want to open that up. This is open dialogue. Nothing's right, nothing's wrong here. Just the honesty and transparency. But for y'all, have you, just a kind of open-ended question here, have you ever felt unsafe on any Livt airplanes? Bo, Tim, just open. This is back and forth, guys.
Yeah. Bo, do you want to start? You want me to start?
Fire away, Tim. You go first.
Okay. So I've always felt safe on a Livt aircraft. I used to fly myself as a private pilot. And so my business started to grow, and it just became overwhelming to keep up with for me. So I looked to professionals like the pilots that Livt employs to fly me and my family wherever we're going. But I have complete faith in the staffing that they've had. We've had challenges in terms of weather that we've had to sort out, and in flight, and the aviators that Livt has provided have been excellent. The aircraft type is as safe as they get, and it has everything on board to give the guys the situational awareness to make the right kind of decisions. So I'm pleased as punch with my Livt subscription.
Yeah, it's funny. Tim and I have the same kind of situation. I have a private pilot background as well, and I'm just it's just outside my pay grade, if you will, to be able to fly the entire family in an aircraft large enough to carry us all. So the Livt family of aircraft, in particular, the Pilatus PC-12, is an excellent aircraft. The safety record is fantastic. It's got one of the best engines up front, and as Tim mentioned, the latest electronics and all the bells and whistles, which provide the pilots with the best situational awareness. I think I can sum it up best. My wife actually had an academic conference in Tampa, St. Pete just the other week, and flew into an airport that was literally 5 minutes from her hotel. And the reason I tell this story is because I was more worried about her walk from the airport terminal to the hotel five minutes down the road than I was for the 2.5 hours she'd be flying in the aircraft. So I'm in there with our family each time. I've flown my kids and my wife back before I've flown. We've all been together. It's never been a worry of mine in these aircraft. They're well maintained, operated professionally, and always feel comfortable and safe.
And Bo, on that point here, I think your wife on that trip, she had to go down to this conference, and it was a beat down to get there, of course, and get back commercially. But she had to go down there and come back for an event with your kids, right? That had to be spot on, correct?
Oh, that was correct. She had to be back for prom because I don't do hair. So she had to get down. The conference began midweek, and it was tucked away in the southern part of St. Pete. And so, the biggest commercial airport is either the North St. Pete Airport or Tampa, more likely, which it's a bit of a drive down there. The smaller airfield, it was only, I think it was about a 3,400-foot airstrip, but again, well within the capabilities of a Pilatus to be able to come in short field operation and set down. And literally, she walked out the front of the FBO and walked 2 blocks up to her hotel. So you can't beat that. And then, of course, she made it home Friday night so that on Saturday, all the prom stuff was taken care of.
So Bo, just that alone makes it worth the money, because you have to do hair, because judging by your appearance, I'd say in hair is not your forte, babe.
I got real lucky on that one because I had a soccer tournament. It was the other beauty of it is my wife had to get back because I had a soccer tournament with my son, which means I was leaving town Friday evening. So if she didn't get back, we were kind of in a pinch. And so her ability to go down and back and get there, and then me out of the house without having to deal with the 8 girls that spent the night in the house, it was a win-win all around.
That was well worth the money. And I can attest to that. I got a little more hair up here, but I what to do. I was keeping that 9-year-old a couple of weeks ago when Mom went out of town for a trip, and I had to say, "Baby, when's the last time you brushed your hair?" Because it was like this, right? And so, well, let me brush it. And I'm like, "What am I doing?" I had no idea what I was doing, but I figured it out basically. Tim, thanks for adding that to the now. Kind of on that same note, Tim, you've already spoke to a little bit here, but how is the Lyft service compared to others? One thing we pride ourselves on. Well, let's go ahead. I'm going to ask y'all, Bo. We start with Tim and go. I mean, how has the service been? We've worked with Bo for at least over 7 years, I believe, at this point, him and his family. And not all times have been great, as I told you up front here. A lot of you're not going to buy your problems away with flying private, but it's how we communicate with them, we deal with them, and being that we're a more personal service, Bo, how has the service been compared to other experiences you've had, man, over the years?
Yeah, no, I mean, you can't beat the service. I make a special mention of I believe it's Stephanie Dasta, who is one of the coordinators that I work with, and Stephanie is fantastic. Stephanie has a working relationship with me and a friendship, I would say, and she knows that I'm a pilot, so she can kind of talk to me in lingo that makes sense, and I think that helps in terms of understanding some parameters for travel if there are potential issues with weather delay, talking about various field locations and what would be the best in terms of planning a trip out to a location we haven't traveled to before. It's just great communication. And Stephanie's always the first. You can't. Mother Nature can't beat Mother Nature, right? She'll come when she wants to, and there's been times where I've started to kind of look at the maps and the projections and get some of the heads up on some weather issues. And right as I'm thinking, call Stephanie is calling me or texting me, keeping in constant communication, and that is probably one of the single biggest reasons I enjoy our relationship with Lyft is that I know there's somebody I can speak to at any time who is going to do everything they can within their purview to make sure that whatever disruptions may be there, they're minimized to the best of their ability. And again, like I said, Stephanie, I will talk to Stephanie an extra 10 minutes just for the sake of talking to her, not because we're working on any particular travel plan. Right. So it's a great relationship. I enjoy it.
Great. Thank you, Bo. And Tim, I know you'll speak transparent truth, you always do. So go ahead, man.
Yeah. So at my former employer, we were Netjet subscribers, and the level of service, if you just compare contrast, the people at Lyft know me and my family better than the Netjets folks did, because it's such a giant organization. And the other difference between a Lyft and a Netjets is that the people who are the coordinators, and Bo mentioned Stephanie in particular. Stephanie comes from an aviation background, so having people with aviation backgrounds versus just being the hostess at the local restaurant in terms of experience makes Livt stand head and shoulders above its competitors.
Well, that speaks a lot there, Jim. I appreciate it. Now, this is one thing that we get a lot here, and this is where, kind of the 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 road is pavement, basically. Okay. And people always ask, well, I don't know my money's secure with Livt. Have y'all, either one of y'all felt unsafe or unsecure that your deposits or your money that you put into the hours was unsafe with Livt in any way, or not being utilized properly on y'all's behalf? I mean, Tim, you've been with us almost 4 years now. Bo, almost 6, 7, almost, I think, plus 6+ years, 7 years. We'll go back and backdate that eventually, Bo, get that right, because I need to know. But Tim, have you ever felt your dollars put in with Livt is unsafe?
No. I listen. I can call you with anything, and so I've never thought that. I wouldn't even think that would be an issue that you would come across as much, because it's you can look, if you're using Netjets, it's a $600,000 first check, right? And then it's time thereafter. So I've never felt like, I thought you were going to run off to Mexico because it's not enough money. And so that for me is a strange one. I don't know how Bo feels, but I've never felt that way.
Well, Bo, I'll let you speak to, then I'll add some comments to it, and we could talk on that. But Bo, your thoughts on that, and how you felt with it.
No, I would agree with Tim. I've never felt uncomfortable or felt that my investment was somehow going to fail on me or whatnot. And I'll be honest with you, Justin. I think in terms of the contract offerings and in terms of payment options and things like that. Somebody was talking. I was talking to a prospective client, and they were talking a little bit about those kinds of things. And I felt that the payment options, or whether you paid up front for a year service, or in my case, a monthly draw, things like that. Ultimately, if you have that kind of concern, there's still an opportunity for you to invest as you go, as
Right.
opposed to having to, Tim just said it, you're dumping 600 grand into Netjets just to get in the door.
Right.
Those kinds of issues to me have never been a problem. And to be honest with you, the service and the availability of aircraft have just improved the longer we've been with you. You talk about it honestly and openly. I mean, there's been the bumps, but I'd say right now, I mean, all cylinders firing. So I have no concern.
Well, a lot of where this comes from, y'all, is that anybody always plays devil's advocate. They go, well, I'm gonna spend $100,000 to you, $120,000, $200,000, whatever it is. I don't know you're gonna be around for next year. And I speak because you're a private small company, and we talk to that, and I go, listen, guys, or listen, ladies and gentlemen, we're in business for over 7 years. I've been leading a business like this for over 15+ years. I've been in the aviation business for 20+ years. Our customers are tenure here. Our members, our airplanes speak for itself, and nobody can guarantee tomorrow in any business, whether it's the largest company from Nike to Apple to GE to Amazon. None of those are to GMC. None of those are guaranteed. So I can't speak to what the world's going to do tomorrow. And if the world stops and we're all looking for how to feed ourselves, we're going to be worrying about something else besides our flight hours. And so that's really what it's that's really what the conversation has been based around. But it goes back to the original reason why we're having this conversation, is people were not the Netjets of the world, right? And so they don't have that security, so they find doubt and reason to find doubt. And that's really what's about. That's why we're here today. But so that's Tim, Bo. I mean, that's if you have anything to add to it, please do. But that was really where it was at. So
yeah. So the Bo, I don't know what kind of business you're in, but it's not something I worry about. But from your perspective, Justin, maybe say, well, maybe the card is the right way to go for you. You buy 20 hours or whatever it is, or
Right.
5 hours, and you start there, and then, let us prove. I think that's what you did with Bill Heim, who I referred you to.
Right.
And he's as pleased as punch. He thinks it's the best thing ever.
Right. Bo?
Yeah, no, I would say the same thing. I mean, the value and the service, I would I would encourage anyone to take their family through the commercial process this summer. If they have any doubt about whether or not that they think this is an opportunity, it certainly is. It's a luxury and it's a blessing. But my confidence and my sense of value for the investment and the convenience, it's all positive, and I've been really pleased with it. And like I said, these moments where, for me, I utilize the travel program primarily for personal travel with the family. And there's nothing better than being able to focus on the event, the trip, the vacation, whatever it may be, that gets you the to and not worrying about the to and from, but enjoying the time spent wherever it is you're headed. So that is the value.
Well, and thank you, Bo. Now, Tim and Bo, here's the kind of last thing, kind of wrap this up on this, and it's kind of an opening question. We've already talked a lot about it, and that is, I get this. I talked to a guy today, and he's going, I just don't know if I can justify flying private. I fly private a lot, but I just don't know if I can justify. I'm trying to. He doesn't say that. He's trying to justify in his mind. He's trying to rationalize this. And Tim, how do you rationalize and justify flying private, man? I mean, because it's not anywhere as close to as cost effective as commercial. So how do you justify this?
Can I be blunt?
Please.
If Bo, I'm close to 2 hubs, right? I can get to LAX, and Santa Ana is a hub. So, I justify it flying privately because I don't ever want to be exposed to another hub again. You cannot pay me enough to go through DFW or LAX. I mean, Bo, you're in Roanoke, and like, okay, well, I'm a little bit isolated. I don't have as much access as if I were down the street from Hartsfield, but I don't want to do that. And so you look at the access. Let's say I sent one of the fellows who works for me up to Idaho with his family for a ski vacation. It took him in the plane, I don't know, that's 800,000 miles. It took him 3 hours to get up there. And it would have taken him the better part of a day to get there and change planes and switch around. And we've all had young families, and the amount of crap that gets dragged along to whatever tournament you're on your way to, you cannot pay. It's the easiest justification of anything I do, of any money I spend, is to fly private.
That's pretty good sell point, Bo. Go ahead, man. Before you go, Bo, and so he's not actually in Roanoke. You're probably about an hour outside of Roanoke, hour and a half, 2 hours from Blacksburg, correct? Or is that near that, correct, Bo?
Yeah, so Roanoke is about 45 minutes to the north. But to Tim's point, I have the opposite problem. In other words, if I want to go anywhere, and I either drive 2.5 hours down to Charlotte or drive 3.5, 4 hours up to Washington, Dulles, something of that nature, to catch a flight, and that takes time. I can describe it the best. So one of our big family trips is always to our property down in South Georgia. It takes me 8 minutes to get from my door to the Blacksburg airport. It takes me about an hour and 50 minutes to fly from Blacksburg down to South Georgia. And it takes me about 20 minutes to get from the South Georgia airport to the property, to the house there. So all told, it probably takes me about 2 hours and 45 minutes. I would still be in the TSA line with that same amount of time at an airport.
Amen.
It gives you a literal day of travel, a day of vacation that you wouldn't otherwise have. As Tim rightfully said, he was talking about his friend, somebody who was just caught in the system for an entire day. And you can't, that's to me, that's, you just can't put a price on the convenience of getting the time spent where you're going as opposed to trying to get there.
Right. So, I think to wrap it up on that side of it, gentlemen, is that it's about how you value your time. And if you value your time and once you do value your time, there's no way of not justifying it. It's just an easier rationalization at that point. And y'all both made clear sense of this on the side of it. But I appreciate, unless y'all have something to add to this, I was going to wrap up here. Tim, did you have any other follow-up points, man?
No, I think Bo's spot on. Your time with your family as a busy business person is limited, and to have that extra day is just invaluable. And obviously Bo's a better man than I, but
Hey,
or he likes
I'm not going to.
better. So.
Well, I'm not going to
Don't include that.
Hey, we're going to include all because it's fun. Okay, so here's the thing: I'm not going to confuse anything or mess anything up. That was perfectly said by both y'all. We couldn't have scripted it better if we tried to script it. Okay, and so I appreciate y'all's time today. We're going to wrap up the call here. Y'all stay on a minute. We'll chat a second here, but thank you for the time today, guys. On the Livt podcast. God bless. Okay.
For more information related to today's episode, visit livt.life, that's Livt with a V, or find us on Instagram and Facebook at iFlyLift.